Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Criterion Connection. This is the first episode with Joe back. Joe is back, and today we're going to talk about a basketball Criterion movie. About basketball. It is called Space Jam. I'm just kidding. It's actually a little movie, a little documentary. This is the first documentary I think we ever did.
I think so. I think it's the first, because we did Haxen.
I don't count that as a documentary.
But that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
But this is a straight up documentary by the great Steve James.
Yeah. It's called Hoop Dreams.
Yep, considered one of the best documentaries of all time. And here you're gonna hear what we think.
And I apologize on my phone. I wrote notes.
You wrote notes?
I wrote notes. Because it's a 3-hour movie. I had to write notes.
So this is about. This came out in what, 93, 94?
Around there.
Yeah, because they
the Chicago Bulls were pretty big. This also takes place in Chicago.
Yeah, they filmed this they started filming in either the late 80s or early 90s. And it was just when the Jordan Bulls were picking up, because it was mainly Isaiah Thomas and Bad Boys Pistons. I don't know how much you know about basketball, but
I used to be very big in basketball. I used to play basketball in middle school. I was let's just say I can make any shot, but during game time I missed every freaking shot.
Sure, man.
So that's the one. Actually, aside from bowling, that's the only sport that I was actually pretty good at. So, I've been meaning to get back into basketball here and there, but they play all the time. I don't know what they play.
But in this film, Steve, he focuses on two very talented young athletes playing basketball, and they're from the inner city of Chicago, just like Isaiah Thomas, who was huge at the time.
Yes.
And
they even reference Isaiah Thomas even has a cameo in this.
Yeah. And basically, it follows these two kids on their separate journeys that do intersect a couple times.
Yeah, Steve Agee and
Arthur Agee.
Arthur Agee, I'm sorry.
A.K.A.
Arthur.
Man. A.K.A. Tuss.
No, yeah. Arthur the Man Agee, and then there's William Gaines?
Gates.
Oh, okay.
Gates.
I watched this a couple weeks ago, so...
Basically, you follow them going into high school as talented basketball players.
And it's also a nice little thing where it's like, one goes to private school and the other one goes to public school.
They both go to the same school at first, which is the school that Isaiah Thomas went to.
Yeah.
St. Joseph's in Chicago. It's pretty famous, private school there. And you see... Steve James has a way of showing things he'll show more than just what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So you're just following these kids, and one of them is, really big and athletically built. You see all his potential in the world. And the other kid is kind of small, but he's got a lot of talent.
But it also is a family issue.
They both have family issues.
Finance-wise, Arthur can't... his family is struggling, and they kind of got swindled a little bit.
Yeah.
They said, we're going to pay your whole way. Not really, we're not.
Yeah, and you see kind of how recruiting happens, even at the high school level. And you'll probably hear in the news, different recruiting issues in college and stuff like that. And you start seeing how early it begins in high school, especially in these really competitive regions like Chicago. And, kids... relocating to different schools to try and make their teams better. And what kind of opportunities certain kids get versus others. Like Arthur, who doesn't pan out as great. He's on the freshman team. He's not playing too great. He has kind of a lack of confidence. And they pretty much essentially cut him and then, tell him that he owes all this money. His family.
Then he has to go to public school.
Then he has to go to his public school in his area, which is inner city Chicago, no funding. And then the other kid, who shows a ton of promise, makes varsity right away. Coach favors him so much. You see it later where he's yelling at the whole team.
Yeah.
And then he goes, "What do you think, William?" And it just kept happening. And
I was waiting for
after
that. I was waiting for a scene where they all beat him up at the end. The coach likes you better. I was expecting everyone to bully him afterwards because I expect it's high school. That's what I expect.
Yeah. And I like seeing the different hardships they have. Arthur dealing with his family. William, he gets hurt
That's why there's a big old like kind of like narrative switch. Like there's like a opposite mirror.
Yeah, it's so
like
you
William
couldn't write it any better.
Like William is kind of he has it all. You know, he has the opportunity. He has the money.
When his
Not the
family
money,
when his family couldn't afford it, there was the private family that ended up paying for it.
So he had
ended
more.
up covering it.
And Arthur lost a lot, and he became so distant, just so I don't care about anything that. His grades started slipping. His basketball, it wasn't really thriving. And then William gets hurt, and then it flips. Now William's career is kind of going the downhill, and
they have all the expectations of getting the state championship, and then Arthur, who doesn't, their team is losing,
and Arthur starts getting better.
The senior years where it kind of makes that big switch.
Yeah,
where William's coming back from his injury. And he's trying to get to state. He wants to be in state. And it's not like you root against either of these kids. It's just the way the system is. And William, he starts dropping off, and his team doesn't make it. But Arthur's team almost makes it all the way. I think they get to the championship game, I think. And, and then you have college recruiting, which is great.
Which, by the way... I did not realize that a lot of the college recruiting coaches are the ugliest men on the earth.
Well, this is also back in the early 90s.
The ugliest men I've ever seen in my life. My God, how ugly are they? Anyway.
But it's a really great documentary. I think it's worth the 3 hour.
There's moments like, I don't know about you, but when, William had the free throw on the championship game. And he misses. I gasped. I was like,
yeah. And the year before, he had one of the last shots and he misses.
Yeah. Also, there's another cameo by a Criterion director, Spike Lee. As a kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, the system don't like you, and he does this whole Spike Lee spiel.
Yeah, this is right after like Do the Right Thing and that run of movies he had.
I just love that he was in the movie. Yeah, so
it was an orientation that he was in. Isaiah Thomas was at a basketball camp, so they're not like in it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
You can see why it won the awards it did. You can see why it's considered one of the better documentaries. I mean, there's times where it's dated, but then you see the main themes and problems that pop up, and it's always happening.
Also, William's brother, dude is delusional. The dude is so like
how many
he's so
people are
jealous.
like that?
He's so freaking jealous of his brother because he didn't make it.
Yeah, and you follow him all the way into college, and you hear about what happened once they got there at the end, and I think it's worth the 3 hour runtime.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's two stories that intertwine, that are interesting comparisons to one another.
It's a documentary, but it feels like it was a well-crafted movie.
God, man,
that's how life works out.
Yeah, it's so crazy how perfect it is. It almost seems like a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, like it was written this way, but it was a documentary. It's ridiculous. And it's kids.
Yeah.
Growing up, and and we've all been there. It sucks.
Yeah.
Especially with Arthur, and he has that friend that's
the one that ends up taking the. Well, he doesn't seem to be the worst in the beginning. He seems to be well intentioned, and then he just kind of slips up on his own.
Yeah.
At the end, and that's really it's kind of tragic when you think of some of the people that are in it, and you're like because you don't root against anybody. In my opinion,
I root against Arthur's brother. No, William's brother.
William's brother.
Yeah, he was just kind of like he's a little much to me. He's just like.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's so many people like that.
I do like. There was also it wasn't just the family I liked, but it was also the families.
Mm.
Like you see Arthur's mom get the diploma from the nurse school, and you're like,
that's such a F moment.
Yeah, you're like. You're not just rooting, like you're also rooting for his dad who had addiction problems and stuff. You root for him.
Early on, you have that moment where his dad struggles with the addiction, which you assume he's covering up pretty well in the beginning. And his mom, who ends up losing her job because of an injury, and then ends up going to school, and then finally makes it, and she can provide for her family again, and they can pay off the debt. You're just like, geez, man. Because they weren't going to let him graduate until they paid the debt because they wouldn't let the transcripts. That's so messed up. I'm so
that says a lot. That says a lot about the private schools because I went to a private school and that's how they go. That's how they rule that. Like, if you don't pay the money, you don't go to school.
Well, not only that, just the fact that they won't release transcripts.
Yeah.
Of the time that you were there, and it's just like crazy, man.
Yeah. But
I've heard that too, and it's just it boggles my mind.
All right, so the big question of every show is buy, rent, or skip.
Buy.
I'll say buy as well.
It's
I don't own
definitely
it,
worth
but
it.
it's on my list of like the Barnes and Noble list when it goes on sale.
Yeah.
It's on my list of.
It's definitely worth it, and at the very minimum, watch it somehow.
On Filmstruck.
You can watch it on Filmstruck.
It's also on Amazon Video. It's not free, but
yeah, it's on Amazon, or you can order the DVD, the Criterion edition. Anything really, and I would love to see the Criterion edition and see what kind of extras are in there.
I also love how
because they filmed for 4 years or something like that. They have a ton of footage.
And there's also I also enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of funny that they don't really reference Michael Jordan at all.
No, you just had Bulls stuff pop up in the background.
Yeah, I thought it was like I guess.
And that was it was at that time Michael did the first 3 championships in a row.
Yeah. I would say, like, Michael Jordan was never referenced in this. And you think Chicago Bulls in the 90s. This might be a little bit before Michael Jordan was big.
Yeah, in the very beginning where they're setting it up,
yeah.
Isaiah Thomas is bigger than Michael Jordan in Chicago.
Yeah.
And that's what's really interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that.
A great documentary to check out is the Bad Boys 30 for 30 documentary, if you want more background on that. Because Isaiah was the Chicago, like, hallowed, like, prodigal son. And then Michael Jordan came along. And Isaiah ended up on the Bad Boys team. And then that's how Michael Jordan, like, kind of stole that crown. That's a great documentary to check out, too. And I believe Steve James put out a 30 for 30 as well. And I wish I could remember which one it was.
Yeah.
But definitely check that out, too.
So let us know in the comment section below what you think. What are documentaries that we should do? There's a lot of documentaries. Mm-hmm. Should we do the...
I've had my eye on a couple.
Should we do that Shoah? The 9-hour documentary? Do you want to put us to torture?
We would have to do that. We would have to plan that way ahead of time.
Yeah.
And watch it in increments because I can't. I can't.
Yeah,
I can't do that in one sitting.
I was just joking. But any other documentaries that aren't 9 hours long and dealing with the Holocaust.
I'm willing to do it, but you just got to give me time, guys.
Please let us know in the comment section below. Other suggestions. What do you think about Hoop Dreams?
Time and positive vibes.
Is there any other sports documentaries? There might even be Criterion that we should check out.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comment section below. You also follow us on Twitter at McInnishMCP. You can just, just keep on the conversation there or subscribe to get more videos of other things we do. We'll do a lot of things. We're also doing more things in the future.
Yeah.
That's not just Criterion Connection.
Big plans.
Big plans. I don't know what that was. So...
Sure, I guess evil mad genius.
Yeah.
Big plans.
Big plans. Big plans. So until next time, you better shoot for your dreams.